Hi everyone, welcome to tonight's Discover ASEA presentation. I'm Melissa Kotter and I live on the Sunshine Coast in Australia. So it's my pleasure to walk you through an amazing technology tonight that represents some life-changing products and a business model that, quite frankly, I don't know of the benefits that I've been able to experience in the last 4 years anywhere else. So some of you are here to learn about the products and some of you are looking at the business model. So I'm excited, as I just said, to cover all of those because this technology, it's life-changing and it also contains foundational nutritionals that restore vitality and life-sustaining communication to our cells. So tonight I want you to think about your health when it comes to thinking about your cells, addressing your cellular health. So a little bit about my story. Some of you may be able to relate that life happens for you, not necessarily to you. I started out my early corporate career in Big Pharma. I worked in my early 20s for SmithKline Beecham Pharmaceuticals, and I was selling vaccines and antibiotics and a whole bunch of different products that, quite frankly, I didn't personally believe in. So what happened is I had my integrity crisis and I ended up in Hornsby Ku-ring-gai Hospital with meningitis and encephalitis, and I was really sick in intensive care, and one of the hospital staff wanted to administer me with a drug that I was selling, and I knew in that moment if I had it, because I understood the pharmacology behind it, I may not walk out of that hospital. So I absolutely made a decision on that day, a life-changing decision, that when I walked out of the hospital and regained my health, I'd spend the rest of my life educating people on how to take responsibility for their health. And I was in search of the root cause, finding the cause of all health and addressing it at the root level. So that led me into chiropractic clinics, where I was co-owner and co-founder of 3 wonderful clinics in far north Queensland. I loved being an entrepreneur and I totally enjoyed the patients that we had. It was just extremely long office hours and I was very time poor. And I knew at the time there was more to me to give the world, and I really wanted to make a difference. And I also wanted to be able to leverage my finances so that I could truly be wealthy one day, because I understood the principles, but I really wanted to put that into practice. So when I was studying an MBA at the time as well, full-time, a patient approached me. I finished my MBA, but he had told me about this profession, the network marketing profession, where you truly leverage your time, you leverage your money, and you make a difference to people's lives in a global business. So that's also what I'm going to talk to you about tonight. I've been in this industry now for 18 years and I've absolutely loved it. I joined a company originally that lost their way about 13 years in. And at the same time, I found that we had some legal issues, my husband and I, that were unexpected. And I don't know if any of you can relate on the webinar, but we were starting completely over again. And that's a really humbling experience. And often when you're in that situation, your next move has to be the right one. You can't make the wrong decision. So this is what it looked like. And when you look at this wheel, think about where you would rate yourself today, right now, when it comes to career. Like I said, I wasn't happy with the company we were in, which meant finances weren't all that brilliant, particularly because of the legal situation we were experiencing. My thinking was just stuck and I just didn't want to help myself. So I was really at a 6. Health was good, healthy, but when you've got massive financial stress, it really does affect your health. And so I didn't have any conditions at all, but I just I didn't have the vitality that I knew that I hadn't passed. You had some issues with some children that it was just all seemed to be happening at once. And so even though our relationship was great and relationships with family we knew could be better, we were cocooning. I don't know if any of you can relate to that. We just really didn't want to get out and socialize or talk with people because we didn't want to infect others with our crappy attitude. So that's where we were pre-ASEA. And I'm going to share now an opportunity through a lady I'll introduce you to, where you can see that at any time in your life, if you've got a story where life's happening for you and you really are in an opportunity to make some changes, this next story is one of the most beautiful ASEA stories I've ever heard. Janelle Ware will share a life-changing product as well as business story with you. And I want you to think, as I go through the rest of this presentation, what it would be like if you were going to rewrite your story and what that would look like. So before I introduce Janelle, I just want to say that ASEA's products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or medical condition. So Janelle, are you there? Let's see if she's still on. 1 second. Okay, I might need to come back to Janelle. She's calling in from holidays. Here she is. I will promote her to panelist again. And she's calling in on her iPhone, but here she is. Thanks, Janelle, for being with us. So I'd love you to share your story. I think you might still be muted then. So I've unmuted you. There you go. Oh, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you. Can you see me?
I can. It's perfect. You've just muted your video. There you go. Brilliant.
Hello. Hi. Hi, everybody. Hi out there to all the people who are listening in. It's wonderful to be able to be here tonight and talk to you all. I believe that we have in our hands here something so special that is unbelievable. So a little bit about my story. So I've been an athlete, personal trainer for 25 years, representative triathlete, and also a bodybuilder. And I've been in the health and wellness industry for, as I said, the last 25 years. And I've been sharing my story of good health and wellness throughout all the people that I know, all my clients, and doing that for the last 25 years. And in 2016, I got the unfortunate news after feeling quite unwell for about 18 months that I had a stage 4 serious issue with a cell dividing issue in my lymph, and that had caused me to be very sick. And so I went through some treatment for that, which they felt that was going to help me, but unfortunately it wasn't, due to my age and due to the stage that they found it. We found out that I had relapsed with that, and in the meantime, I'd had a good friend of mine, Tim Murphy, and his wife, lovely wife Wendy, who were talking to me about these products, the ASEA. And a lot of people had come to me with different situations and different things that they were talking to me about. And for my situation at that time, I was getting a lot of people talking to me about different things. But what I'd done is I'd gone to a pure alkaline diet. I had been using CBD oil. I had been juicing 2 to 3 litres of juice per day, and really, really taking care of myself. I mean, even before that, I was taking very good care of myself, but I stepped it up a whole nother notch. So I was doing all those things, but I still relapsed. So that kind of, that rocked our world. We were like, well, what's going on? Why is this happening? I've put myself into a, extremely, alkaline diet and doing all the right things that you would imagine that would help me to get back into good health after that treatment. But it didn't. It wasn't enough. And it wasn't until I listened to a webinar that Tim had sent me numerous links to different things. And he sent me a webinar about a person who had had a similar situation to me with the lymph, and that he had got some amazing results using these products. And my husband was like, well, can we get this guy, Dan Doyle, on the phone immediately? And he did. He talked to us and he spoke to us on the Saturday afternoon for about an hour and a half, and let us know exactly what it was that he was doing and what it was all about. He was, told that he was terminal 4 years ago, and he's still here, and, amazing. So we were like, okay, what is this? Let's look into this more. So we did that, and we looked at the science, and we checked out all the information to do with the ASEA, And from what we could understand, it was just this incredible product that, you know, no one really had, no one knew about, because it's new science, and it's extremely powerful science that goes into these molecules, and that they're native to the body, and we drink them and we're topping up the levels that are in our body. That's all I knew at that stage. And I was like, okay, let's just start taking this, because what have I got to lose? At the minute, I'm in a pretty dire situation, and I don't want to lose my family. I don't want to, you know, I just want to do anything that I can to help myself. And so I did, and I started drinking that prior to my salvage treatment, which we decided to go ahead with for my family, because, you know, they really wanted to make sure that I did go through with that, even though I didn't really want to, because I've always been very much into alternative and natural health my whole life. But I did. I went forward with it for them. But in the background, I was taking the ASEA and using the gel, taking the drink, and I was drinking, you know, quite a lot, about 370 mils a day, and using the gel on all the tumor sites and in my body. And yeah, so that treatment went on, and I got through that and had the bone marrow transplant at the end of last year. But what I've found is that people that were going through that same treatment at the same time have had not a very good recovery, and not a very good, in fact, probably 50% of those people are terminal. They're not going to make it via the, you know, traditional statistics. So I've beaten that. I'm in remission. And not only am I in remission, I'm back to running my dog, I'm swimming, I'm doing yoga, I'm here talking to you guys. And we don't have a maintenance plan in Australia for what I have. There's no maintenance, like drugs, there's no maintenance plan unless you're prepared to pay $18,000 a dose for something that's quite toxic. And I just feel so... I can't even describe to you how, like, blessed I feel that I have ASEA in my life, because I know at the base of my heart, everything, that this is going to help me to stay in remission, and not only stay in remission from this dreaded disease, which some of you out there are going through with you or your family. And I just think, wow, these molecules, it's like, it's just a gift from whatever you believe in, from God, the universe. But we've been gifted with this because, you know, we need our great nutrition, but we need this as well. And I feel like I've just got so much energy. I feel amazing from what I've gone through. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing, Janelle. We're blessed that you're still here. And quite frankly, this is why I love this business model, or more importantly, ASEA, so much, because without ASEA, there'd be a lot of people who would be really struggling with their health, whom I may not have had a chance to meet. So
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for sharing your amazing story. And just quickly before you go, you went to an event and you made a decision at that event that you wanted to share ASEA with others. So can you just, in about a minute or less, just share what that meant to you and what you've been able to go on and achieve with ASEA in such a short period of time? Because you were only at that event mid-February.
That's correct. Yeah, thanks, Melissa. And yeah, that's really true. So I've been taking the product for about 7 months, and of course my focus was on my health and getting better. But I went to Envision in February, and it has just changed my whole world, because I realized at that event that not only do we have the most amazing, incredible product in our hands, but secondly, we have something that we need to share with the world. And we are the only place here at ASEA that has these molecules. We're the only place in the world you can get it. So for me, you know, I lost my business, I lost my livelihood, and a lot of things happened. But I feel so blessed because ASEA has come into my life not only to help me physically, but to help me, you know, go forward financially as well. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Janelle, for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your trip away, and
thank you.
So grateful for your authentic sharing, and we're, as I said before, just so glad that you're still with us. It's amazing story. So thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Catch up soon. Thanks,
Yeah.
Janelle. Bye. Okay, so getting back to the presentation here, you can get more on testimonials if you ask the person who invited you on tonight's webinar to go to ASEA Healthy Self Facebook page. But Janelle's story is really such an inspiration. We're fortunate to have her on the line tonight, and the more you hear about ASEA and the more you understand about it, the more people you're going to meet whose lives have been dramatically changed. And it is a gift, as Janelle said. And when it comes to looking at what's happening from a health perspective out there in Australia, this puts it into perspective when it comes to having a look at what's happening to ourselves. So in terms of current health statistics from the Australian Bureau of Statistics in 2017, it's probably no surprise that heart disease is still the leading cause of death. I was surprised to learn that 68% increase in dementia and Alzheimer's, making this condition number 2 on the list. It is, people don't usually die from dementia and Alzheimer's, they die from a compromised immune system and an acute illness that ends up ending their life, basically. So number 2 on the list, and number 3 is still stroke, cerebrovascular diseases. So the idea, at least for me, when I walked out of that hospital room years ago, I decided there was no way I'm going to end up my life as one of these statistics. So it really is about understanding, you know, what that means and how we can address health at the cellular level to make sure we're not a statistic. So when we look at it, we live and die. We actually do live and die at the cellular level, because when our cells aren't healthy, we're not healthy. And we have 75 trillion amazing cells in our body that form tissues, which forms organs, which forms systems, which makes us uniquely who we are. So if you've got an imbalance at the cellular level, then your systems are not going to be right, it compromises your organs, and the list goes on. So essentially, when our cells are healthy, we're healthy, as I mentioned. Now, this is an idea of a diagram where you can see an unhealthy cell versus a healthy cell. When an unhealthy cell, the cell lining is compromised, and it means that nutrition can't get in and waste products can't get out. Whereas you can see on the healthy cell on the right, that's not the issue. So cells are often damaged by oxidative stress, which comes in the form of toxins and inflammation. Viruses affect the cell, infections, bacteria, and free radicals go about and cause absolute havoc on the cell. So what's actually damaging our cells? Let's take a look at some of these challenges. The first one's toxic overload at the cellular level, and these apples give a good diagram or progression of what a normal cell would look like with a healthy apple, and then a severely decayed apple, which represents oxidative stress. Because what oxidative stress means is the body can't readily detoxify, and it can't repair the cellular damage, which is caused from toxins and inflammation. So you've got all these cells that are crying out for help to be able to be restored or to be replaced. They really need help, but because there isn't communication getting through, and there's so much bombardment from toxins and everything else I just mentioned, they're in a desperate situation, basically. And it may surprise you, it did me, but when this US group took a sample of blood from the umbilical cord of newborns, they found on average 287 chemicals before we're born, on the day we're born, with these chemicals. And the average consumer, believe it or not, is exposed to 127 chemicals a day simply from their body care products. So that's a massive bombardment. There's 10,000 chemicals used in the food processing industry, and most of them have never been tested. We know the air we breathe isn't great. Our soils, I know in Australia 30 years ago, my first degree is a soil chemistry degree, they were depleted, 2/3 of our soils depleted that many years ago. So now it's just not getting better, and the list goes on and on and on. So it's been said that our grandparents experienced over 100 years the toxins that we're now experiencing within 15 minutes. So you better believe that our poor little cells are actually dealing with it, doing an amazing job in our body to deal with all these toxins. And what this means too is this toxicity at the cellular level leads to genes being turned off, our genetic library being turned off. The other issue is the food and the toxins we're actually putting in our body. Our soils are depleted, so the nutrition's just not there. And 63.4% of Australians are obese. People are digging their graves with the forks by making food choices based on instant gratification and food addictions. The gut is known as the second brain, which will be important later on in the presentation. So there really is some major imbalances going on in our gastrointestinal tract, which is also affecting our cellular health. The other challenge is there's a reduced number of redox signaling molecules, communication molecules that are by design, they decrease after puberty. And Janelle had mentioned this. So when we're older, we just don't bounce back because as easily as we did when we were younger, because our cells have actually aged and the communication's not there to be able to get them back into the network, to be able to get them repaired or replaced. So part of the solution is let's get the cellular communication happening back in the cells. And this is through these messenger molecules that are produced in the mitochondria of each cell, which is otherwise known as the cellular power plant, which is important because it creates energy in the body. And these molecules, they're responsible for detecting imbalances or oxidative stress in the body, protecting the cell first and foremost, repairing that cell, or completely replacing that cell and getting it out of the body. They're also responsible for activating antioxidants. You might eat a pomegranate and it's full of antioxidants, but unless those antioxidants are activated, then they can't go ahead and do their job of chasing down those nasty free radicals that are affecting the cells. So redox signaling molecules activate antioxidants. They're also responsible for increasing immune system communication, which helps with viruses and bacteria in over 500%. And that also plays a role in number 2 statistic, which is the dementia and Alzheimer's, based on the immune system breaking down. As these products that I'm going to introduce you to now, and these molecules, they turn on our genes, which is extremely important. I'll explain why in a minute. So when we restore the communication, our cells are healthier, which means our tissues, organs, and our systems overall, we're doing much better. Now, keep in mind, ASEA, the company that I'm going to talk about, they're the global leader in the cellular health industry. That's their niche, and they have excelled in it more than anyone else in the world. There's no competition, as Janelle said, to these products. So how are these molecules stabilized so that we can actually ingest them and apply them to our skin? Well, it happens over this 3-day heavily patented process where they take pristine salt water, they break it down into free-floating atoms of sodium, chloride, hydrogen, and oxygen, and then the magic happens in step 3 where the atoms are restructured into stabilized redox signaling molecules, thanks to this amazing atomic medical physicist, Dr. Gary Samuelson, who has said this technology has the potential to spearhead the greatest advances in health we've ever seen. The reason why this breakthrough is so amazing in science is because these molecules, they are created and they need to be used in the body within a millionth of a second. So you could imagine that it's taken scientists well over 17 years to stabilize these molecules because of how fleeting they are. And thanks to this gentleman, he's been able to do that for our benefit in the first product here, which is ASEA liquid, and it represents cellular health from the inside out. Now, when you read the ingredients on ASEA, it's comprised of salt and water. So ASEA have partnered with Bioagiletics Laboratory in North Carolina, who certify every single batch of ASEA as containing trillions of stabilized redox signaling molecules. People started spraying these molecules on their skin, and so that led ASEA into developing their Renew Advanced whole body skincare system, which comprises of Renew 28, which is a concentrated form of these redox signaling molecules. It also contains a pH buffer for the skin and a clay that helps to stabilize stabilize these molecules. You can't put these molecules with anything, with just anything you want. It actually is a pure science that's gone into creating this technology. There's a serum that's used for problem areas of the skin that's even more concentrated. There's a cleanser that prepares the skin for the molecules, and a moisturizer that is divine, and it helps to seal in the molecules and provide nutrition to the skin. This range, it's really important to know that it's 100% safe and completely non-toxic. Janelle mentioned it's native to the body. Native is different to natural. Natural, you might eat, yet again, blueberries or pomegranate, and then the body has to change it into something else. Well, the body recognizes these molecules because it's exactly the same as what the body produces. So it puts these molecules to work straight away. It doesn't have anything nasty in it, thank goodness. And it's absolutely amazing, the results that I'll show you in a minute. ASEA has also funded millions of dollars in research with some of the largest leading laboratories in the world, some dermatological laboratories, along with other genetic laboratories such as Toro laboratories. So what ASEA have actually, well, redox signaling molecules has appeared in over 160,000 studies globally. It's been published in peer-reviewed articles and medical journals, and over 1,200 books have been published on redox signaling. And yet again, we have the only products in the world where these molecules are actually evidenced outside the body. Here's the amazing gene study that was done over an 8-week trial on the ASEA liquid. And the mean age group were healthy people, 35, and the results were they noticed a positive shift in the activation of 5 genetic pathways you can see here, which is a 20 to 31% positive shift. Now, scientifically speaking, a 2% positive shift in the activation of these pathways is massive. And each of these pathways listed ties into dozens of other pathways that are really essential in the body when it comes to communication and overall cellular health. If you want more information, go to aseascience.com on this gene study. But yet again, when you look at the statistics in Australia, vascular health signaling pathway has been activated, which helps with the cardiovascular and cerebrovascular diseases, or the stroke, that's listed in number 1 and number 3. The digestive system, as I mentioned, it's the second brain. And there's another product I'll introduce you to, or products in a minute, that targets this specific area, which works in beautifully with this gene study. The genetic pathways for hormone modulation has been activated, which improves mood and weight issues. Inflammation, anything ending in itis, you don't want it to become chronic in the body. That's when it becomes a real issue for the body to deal with. So essentially, with these genes being activated here, it reduces that oxidative stress load on the cells. And number 2, our immune system, the genes are being switched on there, which helps to fight off infections, which is related to the number 2 leading cause of death in Australia. Here's some amazing photos of 3 weeks before and after with Renew 28, the gel. You can see top left-hand corner, this lady with wrinkles on her throat. She actually didn't know she had great results until 3 weeks later when she compared her photograph. So please take a photograph before using the Renew 28 gel or the serum, because it's really great to have a comparison. The next photograph across is typical in adolescents where they have that skin irritation. You can see the results. Inflammation on the skin, the next photograph across, and then the effect or improvement in wrinkles is really substantial. You can see in this photograph as well, and that's just after 3 weeks. Now, I mentioned as we age, we don't produce as many of these molecules. This is a 93-year-old lady after surgery, obviously, on her wrist and her hand. You can see within 3 weeks of using Renew 28 and the ASEA, the improvement, which is amazing because usually at 93, your skin's paper thin. So the results speak for themselves. And cellulite is really hard to budge, and not many people can really do much with it. But Dermatest did a study where they could show a 20% increase in skin elasticity and a 15% reduction in the appearance of cellulite, which even amazed them. And this, along with another study on the whole body skincare system, awarded ASEA with their 5-star highest award of excellence based on the results that these products produce. Here's some more photos of the effects with using the molecules on skin damage. Men, particularly with wrinkles and creping of the skin, this lady's underarm, you can see the before and after improvement there, and the damage to this gentleman's hand in the bottom photo as well. So many results. They're absolutely amazing and really apparent. Rosie went to visit her son, who's a chiropractor, who put her on ASEA. She was 84 at the time. She came back 7 weeks later. She was cranky because she didn't feel like she had any results. Yet again, the reason to take a photograph. He did. He compared it to 7 weeks earlier, and really she doesn't even actually look like the same lady. Here's Rosie at 86, and here she is 3 years later at age 87 as well. And you can see that she doesn't look like the same person. So as long as you have cells and you're breathing, you've got life in your body, these molecules work 100% of the time in 100% of the people. I love this thermography scan. It really goes to show the difference in the irritation and inflammation in the body. You can see top right-hand corner, the lumpectomy, and radiation, the left breast before, and 10 minutes after using the redox gel applied twice to the left breast, a significant reduction in those red areas. The same with the photographs with back issues, knee issues, inflammation on the hand, redness and soreness under the breasts. These results really do speak for themselves as well, and it's absolutely amazing. Athletes. So Janelle mentioned she's an athlete. So when it comes to using these two products for performance recovery enhancement, ASEA has athletes who have won gold medals at the Olympics. And if you want to know more, go to athletes.aseaglobal.com, because these products are phenomenal for recovery afterwards as well, which is usually one of the biggest challenges that athletes have when it comes to downtime. Yes, they want the competitive edge they get on these products, but the recovery is just as important. So let's have a look at some of the solutions when it comes to nutrition, which is number 2 solution I'm talking to you about tonight. So redox molecules restore the integrity of the cell lining of that unhealthy cell, which puts it in a position that vital nutrition can get back into the cell. Well, here's the thing. If you don't have nutrition in the cell at the time, the redox molecules can't be as effective with distributing that nutrition throughout the body. So if you look at it this way, redox signaling molecules provides the labor that detects, protects and rejuvenates cells, allowing nutrients or the materials that nourish the body to be used properly by cells. So the redox signaling molecules, like the builder on a building site, they read the blueprint of the house, which means that they're pushing the DNA genetic buttons in the body at the cellular level. They're putting out communication to their tradies on what needs to be done, when and where. But at the end of the day, if they don't have quality materials, the overall result is not going to be that great. And that's why with the nutrition that ASEA have introduced, it really does complete cellular health from the inside out. This ASEA Via range is currently not for resale in Australia, but we absolutely can get it for personal use. And you can see as a summary cellular health from the outside in represented through the Renew Advanced Redox Whole Body Skincare System. Let's have a look at some of the benefits of ASEA Via. Now, ASEA Via Source comprises of 24 nutrient-dense superfoods and whole food micronutrients. If you were to pay for these nutrients in a grocery store, it would cost you over $280 Australian every month. This product is $55 US that we ship out from the States, so it's absolutely no comparison. There's no better nutritional I've ever researched anywhere that has the quality of the ingredients of the whole foods and superfoods than this nutritional. Then they've gone and addressed, as I mentioned in that gene study, how important the activation of the genes were through that study, and Biome also addresses the gut issues. So there's 16 different strains of probiotics that have been used. Years ago, it was thought to do one strain and put billions of probiotics in there, or strains in there. But now we know there's different microorganisms in different parts of our gastrointestinal tract that have different needs. So these 16 strains address the location in the body of these microorganisms. They've got a prebiotic, which acts as a fertilizer in the gut, and marshmallow root, which soothes the gut lining. There's also a cellular health or lifestyle nutritional called Life Max. It contains 16 distinctive plant nutrients or phytonutrients, with 2 specific addressing aging, which is astragalus and gotu-kola. They're actually known as adaptogenic herbs in traditional Chinese medicine, which means that they're brilliant at helping to reduce stress. So these nutritionals, given that ASEA is the world's leader in cellular health, they've really targeted them to help with ASEA in terms of the nutrient building blocks, but they support cellular health. They regulate healthy cell division. You don't want unhealthy cell division happening in the body. More importantly, they help the cells to assimilate those vitamin and minerals. And this is because these 3 products contain a proprietary blend of BioVia, which is 6 very distinctive and specialized enzymes that help with absorption of these nutritionals in the cells in the body. So they soothe the digestive system, which complements the gene study. It aids in mental well-being, which also complements the gene study, helps with a healthy immune system, and helps to support a healthy inflammatory response. So these 2 are also complementing the gene study, as well as healthy metabolism. Promotes longevity, which we all love, and it supports the cardiovascular health too, which is also in the gene study. And that cognitive function is really the main benefit from the astragalus and gotu-kola in the LifeMax, which cognitive function, with the number 2 statistic on the list in Australia, is really important to address whilst we're young right now. It supports antioxidant activity, which works in with the ASEA that activates the antioxidants to fight those nasty free radicals, and it reduces stress, as I just mentioned. If you would like more information, go to aseavia.com and you can read up on these nutritionals. Here's a before and after with an 80-year-old after 4 weeks just on the LifeMax. Thanks to those 2 ingredients I mentioned before, you can see the wrinkles around her eyes have significantly reduced, which is, and even the dark spot as well, which is really huge from a nutritional. It's important to set correct expectations. So I mentioned these technology, these molecules work 100% of the time on 100% of the people, but it may take time for some people to notice. So we recommend everybody start with a 3-month supply of the products so that they can really give their body that opportunity for them to notice the significant results. Giving somebody or suggesting 1 bottle for 1 week for somebody, you're just really not doing them justice nor the products, because 10 to 15% of people notice significant results. And please remember to take those before and after photographs. Now, I mentioned earlier, when your financial health is compromised, it affects your overall health, and it's really not a great place to be in. So stay on the line to hear more about ASEA, why it's so special. We've heard that the products are a gift, but this company is just as much of a gift as these products, and I'm going to explain why. But first, let's look at the situation Australians are in when it comes to being stressed. We've got 1 in 9 Australians who report extremely high levels of stress, and there's been a 40% increase in antidepressant medication prescriptions over the last 4 years. And I used to be somebody who used to sell antidepressants as well, so you better believe I'm motivated to help people find a more natural and native way of dealing with this issue. So the solution is, you've actually, and I found this when we were struggling financially, it's really hard sometimes in that space to change your thinking, because negative thinking can be addictive, and that was certainly the situation that I was in. And I realized at the time, you can't solve a problem with the same thinking that created it. So it's really important to ask people who are already off the treadmill, out of the rat race. If you want to make some changes in your life financially, ask and get together with people who already have. And so that's why ASEA is so crucial, because as you can imagine, when it came to the integrity crisis I had, that's the #1 thing I look for with the people in the company, that any company I'm going to join. And financial stability has to be there, because I'm not interested in reruns. I'm interested in being able to make a difference and build a global business for the long run. And it's thanks to these 2 gentlemen here, father-son team, Vertus and Tyler Norton, when these molecules were first stabilised, and they're both extremely distinguished businessmen in their own careers, that when these molecules were stabilised by Dr. Samuelson, they were looking to flip the technology to the big pharma. And what happened is they weren't sure, because when you first taste ASEA, it doesn't taste all that brilliant. When the body starts to balance more in these molecules, then it tastes a lot better. But they thought, well, we don't know how marketable this actually is, and we want to know some results. So they got the product out into 40 people, 6 of whom had to get their affairs in order. And they went and did an inventory check 4 months later, and the products had gone out to 135 people in 20 countries. Now, you can't tell me that that happens if a product's not effective and it doesn't actually get results. So what this means is, because they said no to the big dollars in flipping the company, because to the pharmaceuticals, because the pharmaceutical company came out to Salt Lake City, Utah, and said, you need to take everyone off the product. And they personally were not prepared to compromise the lives of these 6 people. And they said, absolutely not, we're going to do it another way. This ASEAgenesis.com changed my life when I watched this video, and I encourage you to please watch it. It's the reason why I joined ASEA, and I'm so grateful to these 2 gentlemen for who they are. They treat all of us as associates as equal business partners, and they absolutely do care about every single one of us as human beings. So ASEA is financially stable, which is important because a lot of businesses in the first 5 years don't last. So they've done well over 100 million last year in revenue. They own their own manufacturing facility, which is extremely important because that means they've got greater control over the quality of what they're producing. They have 18 distribution centres globally. We have one here, or 2 actually, in Sydney and in Perth right now. And sales are projected to reach over $1 billion within 5 to 7 years. They actually have the capacity in their manufacturing facility to be able to cope with this load already, which is really exciting because it gives me the reassurance that they are prepared for the growth that's coming. When you look at this business model, I'm sure you're probably not surprised to know that word of mouth is the most effective form of marketing. Now, for me, I was embarrassed about this industry when I first heard about it in the chiropractic clinic. I know a girlfriend describes it as likening it to purse snatching, but that's because I didn't know anything about it. And I was so concerned at the time about what other people would think of me. I'd done a couple of degrees and I was doing an MBA, and oh my gosh, end up in network marketing. But what the reality was, and I thought about at the time, the chiropractic clinics I had, we were not allowed by the Australian Medical Association to advertise under any circumstances. That business, those businesses only grew purely through word of mouth. So I knew that it worked, and I knew it was so much more effective than any of these other marketing channels that have been listed here on this chart. And thank goodness I took the time to get through and deal with what people thought of me with doing this industry, because here's the thing. Do you think I'm ever going to spend 1 second being embarrassed about what I do when you hear life-changing stories about Janelle? Definitely not. No way. And I just feel so blessed that Virtus and Tyler have given us an opportunity to be able to go out and take this technology to the world. So let's have a look at how it works. Right now, ASEA is currently in 31 countries, and they've expanded quite rapidly in Asia. Given that as Australians we have proximity to Asia, we're in a perfect position to have a massive global business throughout Asia as well. And it starts simply by just sharing the products with people and telling them about the technology, getting information in their hands so they can make an educated decision. We started off 4.5 years ago by telling a couple of people, and in that period of time we have over 31,000 people across 30 countries. And basically it means that we've got an American distribution channel, one in Asia, one in all throughout Europe as well. Now I know in any of the other careers I had before this profession, there's no way I could make a difference and reach out to that many people. So, and essentially the way to build the business to get fast results, it just depends really on who you talk to. So we know people in our lives, all of us, who have great influence on those around us, or around them, I should say. So talking to them is a really great way to get big results quickly. And then there's people you'll come across who ask a lot of questions, and that's great. We've got lots of good information that we can send people to that will help to answer their questions. And then there's some people you'll approach who are like rotten apples, but they are not rotten people by any stretch. They're like me when I first discovered this industry. They just don't know what they don't know, and they're party poopers for now, which is all good and well because we're looking for people who are looking to change their lives. So it's a matter of what now, and I think for me it came down to, well, what's the timing? Where are we at globally with this company? And right now we're actually at post-startup, and we're at pre-momentum with absolutely no competition, and there is no other business that I've ever looked at that puts us in a place that's as significant as this to really make a difference and have a global business in a really short period of time. But it comes down to actually your story and where you see yourself, and I encourage you to actually start using the products. get on that 3-month program where you can experience them. Let the body put these molecules to work, and as well as the ASEA Via, get the real nutrition in your cells that your cells are starving for because of the toxins and the soil depletion, as I mentioned earlier. Like Janelle, some people decide to start sharing these products to cover the cost of their products and to help get the word out there. And you can do this without changing what you're currently doing. But for me, I was interested because I had a background in this profession of developing an entrepreneur lifestyle income. And I'm not one to boast about what we've been able to achieve and what we've done. I can just tell you, I am so grateful every single day that we have joined ASEA. We made that decision. It was the right decision, and we will absolutely never, ever look back, thankfully. There has been a brilliant number of value-added enrollment packs put together. You can have a global business and 31,000 people across 30 countries for $60 only Australian. So that's a low barrier of entry. It's absolutely brilliant. Puts you in a position to also purchase the products at the wholesale price. So get together with the person that invited you on tonight and they can run you through these value-added packs. So I asked in the beginning for you to have an opportunity to think about how you might rewrite your story. Because really there is a chance of, instead of wondering when your next vacation would be, set your life up so you don't need to escape from it anymore. And when I was working in the corporate environment, I really felt like that. I really felt like I needed an escape all the time. And now I certainly don't. It depends, you know, on what you're looking for. I just feel so grateful that we can sleep in some days any day if we're tired. Being able to vacation or go on holidays anywhere in the world that we desire without thinking about what's in the bank account. Being able to spend quality time with family and actually help them financially has made a really big difference to me. Maybe you'd love to develop your skills speaking on stage and being a leader and really bringing out that giant within you that we all have. And there's a fantastic opportunity to really grow. The self-development in this business is absolutely brilliant. It brings out the best in you and the worst in you, but the reality is you get to choose, you get to grow, and you get to love who you become. And like an RV, maybe you want to travel around and take your business mobile. There's an opportunity to do that too. ASEA have aligned with Choice Humanitarian and Operation Underground Railway to form their Advancing Life Foundation. And so they actually do humanitarian work in Ecuador, where they're building a vocational building that will service 1,500 people, because Ecuador has 87% of their country are living at the poverty line and 44% under the poverty line. So this centre, which as associates we get to go with the corporate leaders, and we go and help the people at the villages in Ecuador, along with Operation Underground Railway, which is helping to free children and people globally from the sex slave, which 22 million people are involved in, 5 million active slaves and 2 million children. So ASEA has been able to contribute with some dogs that go and sniff out pornography, as well as being able to actively help to rescue some young girls from this absolutely atrocious trade that's going on right in every country right under our noses. Maybe you want to make a difference while making a living, and I can assure you, you can absolutely do that here with ASEA. If you would like to know more, go to advancinglife.org. So if you're anything like me, don't be a statistic and get on the products, but you have to want to actually change. Sometimes people want change more for others than they want in themselves, and it's just a matter of saying, you know what, am I prepared to change? And with that being said, I absolutely can tell you that you'll never look back, as I've mentioned with ASEA, and I'm excited for you to help change your story. For me now, I feel so blessed, because I really feel if this was a wheel, I'm more balanced now going down the road when it comes to my growth and my attitude. I'm a much nicer person to be around because I'm not stressed all the time, and I'm healthier. And I, as I said, I just feel so blessed. And here's a picture of Bart, my amazing husband, and that's us with Virtus in Cancun a few years ago. We've been able to go to Ireland last year, and Lanai in Hawaii the year before, with an all expenses paid trip. So it's just fun. I've got friends around the world now that I never would have met, and I feel so honoured to be a part of this company, and more importantly to help this amazing man spread his mission around the world because he says we're all at the start of something big with great purpose, and right now is the moment that we begin influencing the future. We can change the world. So my hope is that you receive something in this webinar tonight that you would like to follow up on. So please get together with the person who invited you, and I'm really grateful to have been able to be in a position to share this with you tonight. Thanks for being with me. Love to catch up with you soon. Have a great rest of your night and take care. Thanks everybody.